Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Trekyards Mission Briefing, your weekly dose of Star Trek goodness, and we are once again venturing into a parallel time stream. We are picking knowledge out of the other ether, the parallel, the alternate. Stuart, what the hell am I on about?
No one knows, usually. My guess would be we're going to the Kelvin timeline.
Mm-hmm.
I actually said it. Are you proud of me? Or the JJverse, as I know it.
There we go.
So I think we're doing the JJ Spacedock today. Starbase 1 from the movie, 2009.
Yes, so first picture straight away. Ignore the JJ prize, just the space up. It's a fun picture. So take us back then, 2009. Stuart, what was your first impression of their version of Spacedock?
I thought it was pretty cool. It was very reminiscent of some of the TOS Starbase designs we've seen over the years, like from Franz Joseph and stuff, with the round and then some other round. Yeah, so I thought it was great. It was a great adaptation. I didn't know it was so. You didn't see it very much, obviously, in the movie, and yeah. So now we can get into some more details and kind of some foibles and problems that might arise. But overall, I was really impressed. I thought it was cool. It was a nice homage to TOS era. So
yeah, I was pleasantly. I mean, it's sort of very bland in a strange way, but I think that reflects its TOS-ness, because TOS is very much just about simple shapes, but you've got the saucer and then the ball, and the ball, I guess, is the Dauntless. In essence, you could say that, simple geometric shapes. I think that's something they could definitely have thought of, and you've seen other, we've done DS9 and those other concepts, the idea of having those arms out is very, very TOS, what they've done. So it's totally possible, and it's not hyper detailed like Yorktown is, which is the Revolution, the new version. If they'd done that first, I would have been a bit, whoa, that's too advanced. But this, obviously, the size is the biggest issue, and we'll deal with that later, just because the whole JJverse is scaled up. But stylistically, it's just a slightly more modern take on a classically simple design.
exactly, very cool. Yeah. I really don't have much of a problem with it.
The irony is, I think, looking at the two ships together, or the ship and station, the advancement of the Bassards and the deflector then says, oh, but the ship's too advanced for the space station. It looks too advanced. Like, it almost needs more glowing blue and things. Like, it's almost too simple based on the technology we see for the JJ prize.
Devil's advocate here, which I don't ever do for JJ, but I mean, if in Admiral Marcus's office they had original TOS Connie hanging from the ceiling, and if the Kelvin incident did in fact change their mindset as far as ship design goes, the starbase would have already probably been established, so it's an older starbase, and the technology on the JJ prize is the newer stuff, so I don't really have much of a problem with that.
Yeah, that
being said, mark that on your calendars, guys. I'm standing up for JJ. Moving right along. Next picture.
Yeah, but this little starbase would take a hell of a long time to build, so absolutely.
Yes. Well, it would always be being added on to and advanced, and yeah. So moving on to the next picture. This is the first shot we saw of it in the movie. All lens flary, and you can't see anything because it's so bright. But I thought it was really cool to see that shape, and it was very reminiscent of the Franz Joseph starbase design, and to see all the activity, all the ships docked to it and stuff. I thought was great. I thought, wow, we're actually going to see a great Enterprise, and then it just fell apart from there.
Yeah, certainly a missing detail of Star Trek TOS was seeing the fleet. We never really got a sense. I mean, yes, there's 4 Connies in one shot, but I'm sorry that I watched the original 60s version more than the remastered. It's just the same shot, cloned 3 times. It's not very creative. This is like there's a fleet and everything's a different ship. When I saw this, I did think, damn, that's a big space station, because looking at how the ships latch onto it, unlike the Spacedock one we know from classic Trek, it's very much a space station where things go into it. This is very much a space dock where things are docked to the outside. It's more like it's very, very much like the Starship Troopers design, where things just go in. It's very, very functional. I think of a space dock, now looking comparative, that is the primary base in orbit. This is just the offload and loading dock of the Earth orbit. So I mean, or even the construction facility, because you never really get a sense that Spacedock 1 would be the construction yard. We know there are dry docks. Why would that be a construction? Whereas here, I could see them slowly building things, possibly, or finishing, when not in Iowa. but scale-wise, I mean, it's huge, especially when you consider the, you know, if it was just TOSified, scaling-wise, it would still be big, but not too big. Again, there's some scale shots you'll see in a few minutes, but what do you think on this picture?
It's lens flare. I don't know. It's good, but the more I look at it, the more problems I see with it. First of all, I think Death Star right away, and then I think Xindi's super weapon because the rings around it.
Sure.
And I'm like, well, I see other things that again don't speak to TOS. There's too much complex stuff there.
Yeah, this one compared to the previous model, which is very much just simple shapes. This is the full movie version. So obviously you've got the Nernies, you've got the. I mean, the fact you've got reflection, it looks like a reflection. It looks like there's a glass window effect on the outside of the hull, and internal to that you've got the structure, which is an odd choice. But also it looks like some bits you can sort of see through, and very interesting. But yeah, Death Star certainly hadn't thought that. But again, geometric shapes. I mean, it's difficult to not have things look like other things. Yeah. Well, what other problems? You said you had multiple problems. Anything else?
Well, we'll get into those, I guess, with other pictures, but I can't really think of anything else offhand. Just that it looks like even a Borg sphere. Maybe this is after the Federation was assimilated by the Borg, younger Borg, so they're not as in your face. I don't know.
Sure.
Moving right along to the next picture. Oh, this is beautiful. And
this is thanks to Tobias Richter, who was my go-to guy for Tobias. I know you made a version. Can we see? And this is his calendar image he made based on the JJ movies, I believe in nearer 2009 than today. And this was a fan model he made. He does say it's low res, but for Tobias, low detail really means good detail for the rest of us. So it's still a beautiful shot. This is what he did for the calendar. If we skip right to the next shot, is the zoom in, and it's still a gorgeous amount of detail. And he extrapolated some stuff he thought about. So this is no longer like we're out of the canon territory. And he also disclaimed to me, you know, we don't know the size of the station, so he sort of guessed based on what we see in the movie. Yeah. But it's higher detail and it's clearer. So what's your take on this picture then?
This makes it seems smaller almost than I thought, because I mean, if you look, you can actually zoom in kind of on those windows and see inside, and it looks like there's a person standing there. She's huge. I don't know if that's just no. It's great. It still fits with TOS for me. It's not as advanced as the Starbase that we see in Star Trek 3, which is great because they seem to be parallel in the movies as far as technology and stuff goes. And I hate that because it's still TOS. They're still in the third... Beyond is the third year of their 5-year mission in TOS. But everything seems so movie era to me. So I like this. But I just want to go back to the last picture for 1 second.
Yep.
An issue I always have. Why does the moon not have Tycho City or Lake Armstrong on it? Anyway, moving right along. Sorry. Every time you see a moon in Star Trek, even in TNG, there's never anything on it. Put stuff on the moon because we know it's there. So you want to take us into the next picture? Sorry, I go off on tangents.
No, it's beautiful. Yeah, no, but still on this Tobias picture. I mean, one thing that he hasn't, you know, you sort of extrapolate from the previous version, but it's sort of difficult to tell. There are those 3, I suppose, 5 lights where each ship can dock.
There are 4 lights. There are 4 lights.
Yeah, actually 5. But I take from that you know, it's got a dedicated bit. You know, it's not just you can dock any zone. There's 3 parking spots per thing, which does set a specific limit. And when you consider, you know, TOS, if you think back to Spacedock from the motion picture, or the Star Trek 3, I mean, how many ships do you think it could fit in that? If you were like well parked, you know, given the size of what we saw, what would you estimate?
Ooh, you're making me think on the fly here.
Yeah. So this style of it, you know, a dreadnought and you know, this sort of 3 nacelle, 4 nacelle, 1 nacelle, like the TOS equivalents.
Probably 10 maximum.
That's what I was going to say.
Park nice and snug, I think.
Yeah,
just
10.
Remembering back to how it looked, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say 10, but obviously you'd have to pull them out in a certain order and stuff. Yeah, so already, I mean, you've got not a million more than that. Functionally speaking, you know, this is certainly more, but I really see this now, not so much Spacedock as you know, this well, very much the Spacedock. And this is where the fleet is. And so having this many ships
Yeah.
does say, you need that. We've never seen in Star Trek really a base of operations for the ships. In Star Trek 3
Well, there
was
would be-
I'm coming home to be fixed. I'm coming
There would- yeah.
home.
There would be multiple ones because we know that there's dry docks around Earth orbit as well.
Yes, but that's very much a single ship / maybe 2 or 3 together. It's not, and if you do, you have to park them in it. It's a dry dock. It's not. It's not a car parking space. It's a repair facility. This is very much the only time I've ever seen it as being this is where you park the ships.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I really kind of dig that. And in terms of internal space, obviously Tobias has added some sort of other girders and things to look inside, and he's sort of made it hollow, which I kind of dig almost. Like, imagine if there was like a door in the bottom, you could sort of like go inside and it'd be a very much space dock interior. Like, that's where you dock like the main ship or 2 ships. I can kind of buy that, maybe.
I can't.
Well, it
I can't.
doesn't really need that, but doesn't really need it.
Well, I'm thinking the reason that Spacedock from Star Trek 3 came around was because the Klingons kept coming by and like stealing the ships, so they needed to enclose them in the underground parking, where they're out of the elements and the thieves can't get to them. I don't know. Controlled access.
That's exactly what happened. Exactly. But I love Tobias's render. It's a gorgeous.
Oh,
gorgeous
it's beautiful.
shot.
He does great work.
And yeah, I think he somehow makes it look a bit more prime. I think if you maybe swap the colours a little bit to be more whitey. But I think if they'd done a very TOS treatment and it had been, just big blank circles and a big blank dome, people would complain because it was just too simple. For this sort of shape, I think they've done a great job.
Well, here's the original Franz Joseph TOS technical manual. There's the starbase that I was referring to. Very simplistic. It's the same. Yeah. It's almost exactly the same. If you go to the next page, it shows how they store the ships in those outer balls. You can fit up to 3 ships in one.
That's cool. Which is again, that's very
3 ships able to dock to these, but they're not in a sphere. It's just, I think they drew a lot from this to do the starbase.
I think they might have. I mean, it's not stylistically the same, but functionally the same. Same ideas. One last point I have on this picture is that I think the best thing they could have done, which would have, I think, made it almost perfect, would have been, because I think the sphere is a bit odd. If you'd cut that sphere bottom in half and added a Star Trek 3 Spacedock bottom spine,
the communications array and all.
Yeah, just something, yeah. Just maybe a quarter of the size of the thing. It would have been very much stylistic linked to that, but the docking would have been TOS. K7 like. I think that would have made it fit in absolutely perfect. But because you've got this really sort of quirky ball, it doesn't work that way. But I think you can make this perfect prime just by adding a space dock bottom.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that.
Cool.
All right, so let's move on to the next picture. And this is just an interesting picture that I wanted to include because it's got each of the ship class names there. Mayflower type, Newton type, Mayflower type, Enterprise. Doesn't say Constitution. Mayflower type, Ship type 4, Newton type, Armstrong type, and question mark type.
Lots of types. Yeah, it was nice that they populated it.
Yeah, did you know? I was going to mention too on Tobias's render. Did you notice there's no Enterprise? He used every other ship that looked, that looks good. So
yeah, there is a Kelvin, but there is no Enterprise.
Yeah.
And there's also a Saladin style. Yeah, there's a whole load of there. Yeah, well, yeah, it's interesting. It's nice to see. Anyway, but the next picture is sort of the only close-up we really get. And we get a couple of shots. This is sort of the detail version where it's docked. Now, this is an interesting one because you sort of, because it's so big, it's attached to the end, and that other line you see is actually the next thing along. But because of the lens they use, it looks very close. But it's obviously attached, and it's physically grabbing onto them, which is quite interesting. And I don't know, it's yeah.
Yeah. So the docking clamps are interesting. There's no gangways, which is also interesting. Usually, when you dock to a starbase structure, there's usually gangways that attach as well. I mean, we see that in Star Trek Beyond. You see the gangway come up and attach on, which is beautiful.
Because there is no door at the front of the ship, is there?
Well, I don't know. There's a thing at the top that's going to the top of the saucer. Maybe that, attaches to the window and they just roll the window up and walk people onto the bridge. I don't know.
Yes, the natural escape route is the bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I knew it would come in handy at some point. Yeah.
Oh, to be fair though, the only time we see them, appearing in this ship in this movie is by shuttle. So I assume this is shuttle to shuttle, and then in Yorktown, they're like, hey, let's. Yeah, and then obviously in Yorktown, let's make it functional with actual connecting points, very much like TNG. But yeah, just worth showing the sort of detail. You don't really get a sense of the dome or the ball. It's just kind of like hull. I don't know. I'm not really sure what's there. I really hope this isn't the equivalent of Spacedock. I really think Spacedock will also be out, but this is the parking structure.
I'm sure Spacedock will be under construction. At least.
Yeah.
Maybe this is just an earlier one that's a lot past its, done its duty. It's anyway.
Yeah.
So not much else to say about that. Next picture is a fan made one, Madman's Shipyard, and this. Just great. I mean, you look at that top view directly from the top, and you definitely see the similarities with the Franz Josef.
And then from the side, it's
Saturn.
Yeah. Yes, it's Saturn. It's very also much like there's a Mass Effect ship, Quarian ship, which looks very, very similar. I just think that's, as a side view, is bizarre. Like, 3/4 looks pretty good considering, but stylistically, the side is just a ball with a. Well, I guess to be fair, like you said, it could be Saturn. I mean, a planet. I mean, what better than have it's as if if there's a gravity generator in the middle, then you've got the gravity of this. You've got a sphere. Sphere is a natural living point. Then the the orbit is how you'd normally orbit a planet. So why not make it an orbit of? I mean,
or maybe it is Saturn, because we know that you can get to Kronos in a day. So Saturn might be in Earth's orbit. Who knows? Even though we see Saturn later because they rise out of the rings. So sorry, that blows out the water.
On to the next picture.
I need to take my medication, I think. Ooh, this is cool. This is a good shot. This is done by Samuel.
Something, yes, I did today for us. Tobias was very kind as to render out a brand new shot of the space station for me. I did everything else, and this is a fun one. This really... There's 3 pictures, and this will really put into perspective, because those are the shots in the JJverse. This is now taken to Prime. So, what I did is, the JJverse, JJ Prize, is on the rightmost, document
where it was
thing.
docked.
Right to the right. So that's the one. And that's based, the size of that is based on what they say in the DVDs. The big size, the Enterprise D size. So I took the Trek Condoroga panel scale chart, which I very hard worked on all different scales, brought that in, scaled that based on the E, I believe, to the JJ Prize, so it was accurately scaled, and obviously every other ship scales with it, and then I put it next to the Spacedock. So this is, now, it is worth noting that the JJ Prize itself, you only have the reference of that one sort of side view, so I guess the rough size, so it's going to be give or take a bit, but I think it's pretty close. And it's
a little longer than the E, so I think that fits with the Wikipedia description of it, 2,400 and some odd feet.
No, but I mean the actual space station itself. I was guessing based on the space station. But according to this, again, guesstimation, but it looks about right. The actual space station is 4.5 miles long. That's how end to end, 4.5 miles, or 7,300 meters, with the JJ Prize being 725, so just over 10 times the length. And yeah, I mean,
we know the Enterprise J is 3 miles, so that makes sense. Yes, I can see 4.5 miles there.
And what do you think scale-wise? Because it puts it into a different perspective. What do you think?
It looks way huger than I thought. Really, it does.
Okay.
I didn't expect the Enterprise D to be so dinky there. But
yes.
We know that the JJ Prize is about the same size. Well,
it's actually slightly bigger. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you look at it that way, I didn't think it was this big, to be honest. There's other shots, it just does not feel that big.
Yes, they've upscaled everything. And then, I mean, my God, you put the J... Obviously, the J wouldn't dock to it, but the J suddenly feels small. I mean, a space dock should feel big, but this is the Enterprise J, the one that we all think is ridiculous, and it looks sort of so natural.
It looks like the right size.
Yes.
Okay. I got a question though. Where's the ring ship and the shuttle? Because you should have put those in here too.
No,
I would have loved to see that.
Oh no, they'd be too small. I mean, they're very, very small. I mean, you can. I mean, the NX.
Oh, they are there. You have them parked inside one of those. Okay, I got it.
Right, yes. But you can see the NX-01, you can see the D. I mean, all the major first few ships are in the first ring. You can see how small the NX-01 is compared. And obviously, I threw a whole load docked. Obviously, only 3 can dock.
Yeah, because just looking at the ship's dock there, I love this. This is incredible. I'm glad you did this. Even the Enterprise F really puts it in perspective, because we know that's a big ship.
It's the only ship that's bigger than JJ Prize beyond the J.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Wow.
But again, this is extrapolated. It's roughly the right size. The Prime versus JJ ship is the right scale, so that's all correct. But the space station is based on a single shot perspective. So I'm sure it's probably roughly this, but take that with a pinch of salt. But it just gives you an idea. And I mean, functionally speaking, you could fit 200 NX-01s docked.
Easily.
So, it makes our ships look a bit too weedy and small. Apart from the J. J looks good. But do you want to take us into the next picture, Stuart?
It's more awesomeness. Holy crap. Okay, there's Spacedock 1.
Yes. That's Earth Spacedock from Star Trek 3. Again, scaled appropriately.
Wow. See, the JJ one just looks so much smaller on screen to me than this. It really does. Like, it looks like all of it could fit in like the circumference of the Earth Spacedock. But wow. That's
why perspective is so important. If you look at the universe in its own confined thing, you get a certain sense of scale. That's why we always do, Franklin episode, bring it to NX-01, you finally get to bridge this gap and see what is the appropriate scale. So we're finally bridging the gap and saying, well, if this is how big this is, that's a big space dock. Now it's interesting that you go.
I was going to say it's interesting because we got a lot of complaints that we shouldn't do length and measurements and stuff. We should do gross metric tonnage to do ships, and that makes sense in a lot of cases. But in this case, really the sizing and the length and scale really speaks volumes to me.
Yeah.
More so than a gross metric tonnage would.
And we just represent. I mean, you can see obviously the ships as we present them. Like, length is not everything, but I mean that's how we present it to give you the easy metric, because that's the evolution step that we really see in the Trek. These things just get bigger and bigger and bigger. So it's fair enough, I think.
I've been told that length is everything, personally. Moving right along.
So I just want to say one thing, because when I made this, it ding, it activates brain cells. If you really look at it. No. And obviously think in 3 dimensions. I didn't do a side render, I should have, but I didn't have a side one for Tobias. The Spacedock 1 is huge, but it's very thin as it goes up. The only big bit is the top bit, and it's hollow, and it fits ships in. Now, if you take that and you put it on top of the middle bit of Spacedock for the JJ, it's obviously quite a lot bigger. But it's hollow, so that's the space it gets in. But then obviously you go down, and the functional areas of people, where people are, is probably more in our Spacedock. This design obviously has the external docking bits, but each one of those parts is small compared to a part for Spacedock. So it may look big. That's because the way it's just, how it approaches the idea of parking is completely different. But in fact, if you then did a side view, you'd think, Jesus, Spacedock is huge, with that being that big. So you'd get a different perspective. It's just how they're laying out the detail is different. So it's different. And obviously if you're parking certain ships, then it's built for different reasons, which takes us on to the next picture. This is the TNG Spacedock that we see the Enterprise D go into. It's not actually
74, I believe.
Yes.
Now
this proves that we can make things bigger.
Well, it goes back to what I was just saying, though. This is how I saw the scaling when I saw it on screen. I thought that relative to Earth Spacedock, that's right for me. But apparently not. So,
and obviously I've put an Enterprise D scaled in next to the door, and I put a refit scaled into the door.
That's beautiful. I love that.
And it again swaps perspective, because this is the big problem with JJ and the Verse is that they upscaled everything. Not really for any particular reason. So when you take it in for the TOS era, it doesn't work, because this, but in the TNG era, we've made something even bigger. which has far more people, far more room. By this logic, you could fit far more ships probably than the 12 that you could fit on the JJverse. So, in terms of technology, we do reach that. They've just done it really, 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 really early to get that feel. But I thought it was interesting to put in that we did build that sort of station. Obviously, this is only one stylistic ship, or station, I should say, because that's really only all we see. And I believe I did write down the length. So Earth Spacedock from Star Trek 3 is 3,600 meters long. And remember, the JJ Prize one is 7,300. But the larger TNG Spacedock is 8,800. So that is another 7.3 to 8.8, 1,000 something bigger. So again, era is everything. But is it as big as you think now when you compare?
Yes, because, like I said, this is originally what I thought Earth Spacedock would be in relative size to it. So I don't know. It puts the whole movie into perspective for me. I got to see the scene again now, though. But it does not look as big as it actually is.
It's because the
ships
ships
are problems.
3 times as big as they were in TOS, so everything's upscaled. And this is obviously.
I gotta make a correction based on this picture, though. When I said that 10 ships could fit in Earth Spacedock, wow. I think 10 ships could fit in each. If it's segmented into 4, because there's 4 doors, it's segmented into 4 sections, 10 in each section, perhaps, with that size. You could tuck them in nice.
Yeah, obviously we only see shots from a very specific angle. Yeah, I mean, I think the door. I've made it a little bit smaller, I think. Or I mean, the Connie, because obviously there's a certain amount of clearing room, but obviously the Excelsior can also leave. So that's based on scaling for the Excelsior, because obviously the Excelsior has to be able to leave. So it has to be a certain
As
size.
we know from our episode, the Excelsior wouldn't be able to fit through the doors. But oops.
So I didn't base it on the size. I based it on the actual size it's been given online rather than the door size, if that makes sense. So that could easily fit more than 10 of that style anyway, and obviously the TNG version could fit a fleet. If the doors are big enough, it could fit a J. Probably. Maybe. If it was like angled like that and then to the side and then like that, it could fit a J.
Well, the J is so advanced. We're using our A-brains again. The J is so advanced. It has mass shifting. It can change its size. It can be like.
Yeah, the engines go in.
Yeah.
And come down, and the saucer just bends like that on itself.
If you're a Transformers fan, you understand mass shifting, because Megatron can turn into a gun that Starscream can hold, which is still pretty big, but also a gun that a human can hold. That's mass shifting for you. Then when he transforms, he's like a 60-foot tall robot. I know, right?
Crazy.
That's JJverse. Wow. That logic makes sense. But
it's science fiction.
Science faction. I don't know.
No, that's Star Trek. So I just want to put this out there, and just nice. And just again, there's all semi-estimation based on what we have. It's going to be a little bit off, but this is not. This is easily the ballpark, and I mean straight away, obviously the continuity error of the 2 TNG stations. In the sense of how much bigger it is. I mean that seems a bit silly now, but I like the idea of this. And if you took out the outer elements and just kept the ball, it is smaller than Earth Spacedock.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
Yeah. Let's move on to the last picture, which is by the Lightworks, which is also Tobias Richter.
I think an unmade Star Trek thing called Star Trek Rivals, but it's the same picture from the calendar, just with a different background, but it's sexy as anything.
Yes, and again, nothing on the moon that we can see, but it's partially in darkness. Anyway, this has been a fun episode, guys. I didn't think we could talk so long about this space station because there's nothing on it, but welcome to Trekyards, everyone. We can make a mountain out of a molehill, and we do it all the time.
Yes. So, one last question. If this... Because obviously there is 2 versions of the JJ scale. It's either... because they've changed it several times in the different documents they've released. Although now that Cryptic has done Star Trek Online, they were given set scales, and also Sean Hargroves we've dealt with, they have a set scale. So we can now, next time we till the JJ Prize, we will have the official. This is the length, rather than some odd figure. It's not too small. It is the oversized one, but the official. This is all based on the oversized. But if it was the undersized, same as the Connie, so therefore scaling that appropriate, would you see this as being a TOS station?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Great. So, yeah.
Because really, it's not that much bigger than K7 in relation to the Enterprise, but it's still bigger.
Well, K7 is a weird one because actually the Connie is like almost half of the length of K7.
Yes.
So it's still, it's more of a DS9. So. It's more of a DS9 sort of size for the TOS. Well, Vanguard. I mean, I don't know how big Vanguard is. We haven't dealt with Vanguard Station yet, but I think it would work just fine. Change the details a little bit, and I would love to see, like, not a general fan, but like a Tobias level modeler rebuild this as a TOS version, and like I say, take out the lower dome, add in a proper, Spacedock something. I think this would be absolutely gorgeous. Stylistically, it would work really well.
But that goes against the TOS aesthetic that we saw in Franz Joseph. But anyway.
Yes, but then it would push towards them. It'd be an in-between. So like, this is the refit of the...
I know, but then there's more that I complain about, because it's TOS era. Why would they be that developed? It's more like the movies. Anyway. I think that's it for this mission briefing.
Yep.
Let's call it a wrap. Cut!
A lot of fun.
Oh, you got to do
No, we have to finish.
Do your outro.
Outro, Stuart. That is it for this week's Trekyards mission briefing, a weekly dose of Trek goodness. If you want to support this show, please go over to our Patreon, which is our monthly YouTuber donation service. Many YouTubers do it. We do it because we need your support to help keep the lights on so we can keep making the show. That's fundamentally what it is. So if you want to give and help, because we need your help, so please give monthly or a one-time donation at trekyards.com. Click that donate button and say $10, $15, $2,000, whatever you want to give. Whatever. 3,000? Whatever. So until next time, guys, I am Connor Cockings.
And I'm still Captain Foley.
And we'll see you next time, guys.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.